Welcome to our video on winter maintenance of small sites. Our goal is to create safe surfaces and reduce the negative impacts of snow and ice control. Winter maintenance professionals have a large influence on our lakes and rivers. Whether you are mowing, digging, applying de-icers, or shoveling snow, you change the surface of the earth. Anything not firmly attached to the landscape will move with the next rain or snow melt downhill. This might be cigarette butts, but could also be winter salt or sand. In order to protect our water, we need to look for new and better ways to do our work. Many maintenance activities influence our water quality. You have the perfect job and all of the power in the world to protect our lakes and rivers.
Hi, my name is Jim Weber. I'm a land care supervisor at the University of Minnesota, and welcome to our training video on snow removal for small spaces. One of the biggest challenges in snow removal is the removal of snow in small spaces. Areas like disability ramps, curb cuts, doorways, and steps, usually because this work has to be done by hand. It is critical to the success of your program merely because it is so heavily traveled by pedestrians. Another challenge is that many people perform these tasks, from subcontractors to janitorial staff, to the customers themselves, or seasonal or part-time workers. The most important thing is that everybody have the proper training and the proper tools to do this work successfully. After viewing the material, you should have a good working knowledge of the following objectives.
You will be able to identify the conditions for selecting either de-icers or sand for snow and ice control in small spaces. Always remove snow and ice mechanically by shoveling, scraping, sweeping before applying any de-icers or sand. Measure and apply de-icers and sand in the proper amounts and patterns using the tools provided. List at least 3 reasons about how over-application of de-icing materials affects infrastructure and the environment. Use proper body mechanics for the job and dress appropriately for the conditions.
De-icer is a term that you're going to hear a lot of today. What is a de-icer? Well, it's simply a dry or liquid material that's used to melt snow and ice. Commonly we hear these called salt or chloride, but there are many different types of de-icers. The one you will choose will depend greatly on the conditions you're working in and what goal you're trying to achieve.
Speaking of de-icer, most of our de-icers belong to the chloride family. You know, the same last name, chloride. Sodium chloride, magnesium chloride, or calcium chloride. But chlorides can be very dangerous to aquatic life. To protect our lakes and rivers, the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency has adopted the federal chronic chloride standard of 230 milligrams per liter. 230 milligrams per liter is about 1 teaspoon of salt mixed into 5 gallons of water. Can you use 1 teaspoon less of salt every day in your job? If so, you can protect 5 gallons of water from being permanently polluted. You have a lot of power to protect our lakes and rivers. If 1 teaspoon will protect 5 gallons of water, how much water will be protected if we use 50 pounds less? 10,000 gallons. Imagine having dinner with your family next March and telling them how you protected 10,000 gallons of fresh water this winter. Using 50 pounds less of salt will do that. As you can see, our freshwater systems are so sensitive to salts.
Well, de-icers are salts, and salts dissolve into the water, and they become invisible. We can't see the salt after it's been dissolved. It goes into solution. And when it's raining, a rainy day like today, the rain sweeps the salt from the parking lot and the steps and the sidewalks down into the nearest storm drain. Well, the storm drain is connected to a series of underground pipes, and these pipes funnel the water to the nearest water body, which could be a river or a lake or a pond. There is no water treatment plant at the end of this storm drain. It goes strictly to a water body. Well, everything that we do on land, whether it be in a parking lot or another hard surface, definitely impacts water quality in those water bodies. And you can see here we've got sand that's been applied that is collected here, and it's going to end up in the storm drain, and it will go to the Mississippi River.
The Minnesota Pollution Control Agency has a list of streams that have too much salt or chloride in them. The first creek to be put on this list was Shingle Creek. Shingle Creek's in Hennepin County, and it was determined that a 71% reduction in the amount of winter de-icer use is needed to protect the creek. What would you do if you were asked to use 71% less de-icer on your sidewalks this winter? Could you do it? What lakes, rivers, and wetlands are you near, and how much salt is in them? How you handle the outside space of your building will have a direct effect on the inside of the building. Too much de-icer or sand on the steps and it will be tracked inside, causing slippery and unsafe surfaces for the people using the building. This also causes expensive repairs and increased indoor maintenance costs to doorways, rugs, and flooring. De-icers harm plants and corrode metals. Everyone can see the brown grass along the sidewalk in the early spring, rust spots on our trucks and tools. Less de-icer is better for the concrete too. Now that everyone understands the problem, we're going to talk about the best practices for winter maintenance. Mechanical snow removal is our #1 strategy. Shovel, plow, blow, scrape, or sweep, it doesn't matter, they're all great methods. A cleared surface allows us to use our de-icers in a much lower volume. What if you're in a hurry? Why not just throw some de-icer on top of the snowy steps? Bad idea. The de-icer doesn't have enough power to melt much. You will only create an icy or slushy situation, one that you'll have to go back and clean up another day. Always remove the snow first. Then, if necessary, use the de-icers to melt away the few remaining flakes. For small spaces, we have a variety of tools for snow and ice removal. Often our spaces don't lend themselves to motorized equipment. Choosing the correct tool will make the job much easier and more successful. Try using a broom to keep the snow cleared off your surfaces. For a heavier snow, use a shovel. Shovels come in many varieties, but the basic two are the push shovel and the scoop shovel. Scoop shovels have small sides. It helps keep the snow on the shovel. They're good for lifting and moving snow elsewhere. They're also good for working in small, tight quarters. The push shovel has no sides. They're good for guiding or sliding the snow on the ground to its destination. Generally, you can move more snow faster with a push-type shovel. Choose the proper shovel and use the proper technique.
When shoveling, it's important that you keep your body in line and that you keep your work in front of you. Shovel with your knees bent and turn to move your pile of snow.
When working outdoors, select proper clothing for cold, wet, and windy conditions. Dress in layers to adjust for different working conditions. Wear a hat and gloves in addition to thermal underwear to help keep water away from your skin. When needed, take short indoor breaks to warm up.
Early removal of snow reduces your chance of an icy compacted surface. If we are late at snow removal and people have walked over our surfaces, we will likely get compacted surfaces. This means more work to mechanically remove the snow and more chemicals to get our surfaces cleaned. If you're always battling compacted snow, reassess your maintenance strategy. #1, start mechanical removal early. #2, work it all through the storm. Remember, mechanical removal is your first defense. Removing compacted snow from surfaces is a problem. In Minnesota, through most of the winter, it is warmer when it snows, but temperatures soon drop after the storm. If we're dealing with compaction, we're often in this colder temperature range. De-icers do not work well in extreme cold temperatures. Using more de-icer when it is cold is not the answer. There are 2 tools for scraping, the ice chisel and the ice scraper. The ice scraper has a wider, flexible blade. It cannot pound through the ice, but it works great like a putty knife under the ice. The ice chisel is more rigid. It can be used to break through the ice or scrape the ice. Be careful when using chisels to not damage the sidewalk and steps.